Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Overseers. I'm Bro Ilias and I'm joined once again by my co-hosts Nightwing and OneHP. How are you guys doing today?
I am okay.
Yeah, I'm very
Extremely
well, to be
mediocre.
fair.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's today's gonna be a bit exciting because I'm really amped to talk about especially Washington Justice and what they're trying to do after all that happened with the organization. So yeah, let's get into it.
Alright, so for those of you who haven't been watching this series so far, we've been reviewing all of the Overwatch League rosters individually. So today is our fourth episode and we are going to talk about the Washington Justice. Um, Really exciting team coming into 2021, has had its fair set of downs and some ups. So how this is going to work is we are going to go over the tank line, then the DPS, the supports, and then the staff, right? The coaches and the GM and so on. Um, so we since we sort of lengthened our previous episodes a little bit, we are going to try and keep this one at around 30 minutes. So let's try and achieve that goal with all the points that we've prepared today. All right, let's get into it then. Uh, first of all, the tank line of the Justice is Mag, Fury, and Rhea. So Mag's the only main tank, and they've got Fury and Rhea as the off tanks. And I'm really excited about this because so far Washington has had a sort of prevalent tank problem, right? They had Raw last year, whom they released, which was, I think, absolutely the right move. And they've replaced him with a really massive upgrade in Mag, right? So he's coming in from Runaway and is an absolutely standout Winston player. And ever since the first edition of the Vancouver Titans was formed back in 2019, this guy came onto their contenders roster and has maintained Runaway status as a top team in Korea ever since then. And he's just been dominating. You can see his team always coming in like first or second in whichever tournament they've been playing. So I think that's a really good pickup, and I'm interested to see how you guys think he's gonna fit into Justice's roster.
Okay. I think that Mag is a really good pickup for Justice, and it's something that I think a lot of teams were eyeing to pick up. I think that he's really good on the conventional main tags, Monkey, Ryan, etc. But I think looking at how much these kind of a new wave of ball players are beginning to dominate in high ranks and in high tier play. I think that thing might translate into the Overwatch League. I think Mag is a bit unproven, relatively speaking, on the ball, but I
Yep.
think that he's an exceptional player and that he can probably pick it up. If not, obviously Washington still has spots they can put in someone just for playing the hamster.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Apart from
think Mag. Sorry, go on if you want to continue. I was just gonna pick up on from there.
Yeah, apart from that, I think that Mag will find it not too difficult to fit into the team. Honestly, yeah. First of all, it's a Korean roster, not too much communication issues. Even though it's his first time in the Overwatch League, I think this is a system that can benefit him.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the fact that he has Assassin, who he's played with before,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that he has the resources um, in his supports that will really let him to pop off, and all. He'll also have the right peels from Fury as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mag's gonna have a good time in the Overwatch League.
Yep. Yep. One HP.
Yeah, I think it's you've covered most of the things about Mag. For me, at least, coming in, he would be outright like be the one main tank I was hoping would get in, and it was no surprise when he did. So it's certainly going to be interesting with the amount of authority he commands in the team as the main tank. So he's I mean, I'm happy for Washington in the sense that they're finally having a top tier main tank or a potential top tier main tank, as Nightwing said, because we don't know how he's going to play yet, how he's going to adapt. It just depends on different people. I'm more so interested in the off tank lineup of Fury and Rhea because you see Ria's been super consistent for Hangzhou, but nothing stand out. But it was never as if he was a bad main tank, off tank, sorry, from my perspective. And Fury, on the other hand, is this absolute god who's, I think, at least in the first two seasons, has had outright the best diva in the league. And having someone from a champion team also helps the team just attain a different sense of being. So I'm very excited to see where it goes with someone like Mag. And let's say if they come to being for their full potential, then we could see one of the most exciting and dominant tank layouts in the in the entire league.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's then talk about the off tanks, right? Because Fury and Rhea, I think they are very interesting pieces to add to this puzzle. Fury obviously coming in from the Philadelphia Fusion, former Overwatch League champion back from Season 1 with the Spitfire. He's a pretty versatile off-tank player, and I think he makes for a solid pickup for Washington. And Rhea, he's coming in from Hangzhou. We haven't seen him play much recently because it was mostly Sashin and QOQ who played off-tank for the Spark last year. Um, but yeah, I feel like he's probably going to be saved to play Sigma because when you've got a diva meta, Fury's clearly the better diva in my opinion, and he also plays a really good hog. So how I think they're going to bifurcate the roles is assign diva and hog to Fury and assign Sigma to Rhea because he was one of the standout Sigmas back in season 2 when we got the double shield meta for the first time. He was absolutely sick at peeling for his team and is a pretty aware off tank in my opinion. So yeah, I think that's how their roles are going to be split, and they are going to save Zarya for Decay probably, but we'll get to that when we talk about the DPS. And before that, yeah, Nightwing, if you have anything to add to the tank line, go for it.
Sure. I think Fury is a complete nut. I think this guy's insane. Despite the amount of success he's had, I think he's kind of underrated, honestly. Even with all the praise he gets. Of course, none of this is too short of the fact that he's the first player to get a top hammer kill in the league. Okay, I'm just kidding. The actual thing that is great about Fury is that he is extremely mechanically skilled as well, and he's also just not on the kind of game sense that you need for an off-tank player. I think that, yeah, as you said, the Diva Hog roles will probably go to Fury, and Rhea might be picking up Sigma. But also, Rhea wasn't exceptional in terms of Sigma play last year. Obviously, in 2020, there were some insane Sigma players, and Rhea was not quite at the top tier. I would say, if someone like Choi and Void would be S tier, maybe Rhea would be around A tier or A plus even. I think that it's good that they have a backup in Rhea, but I would expect Fury to play over Rhea for the most part, unless they seriously they have like a proper division of hero pool so that they can improve their heroes in more depth. Apart from that, I think even Fury Zarya is great, and in a role where someone like Tracer needs to be played, maybe even in some kind of weird like Zarya Tracer comp. I don't know if you'll see that in the league, but in that case, Decay might have to play the Tracer, and then Fury Zarya is there to complement him.
Sure.
So, yeah, I think the tank line is really insane for Washington.
I think yeah, go on. I'll go after.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I just think that it's an improvement from previous years where you just had Lalshus at the airport trying to beg for a visa. Yeah, they can only go up from here. We just have to see how far up they can go.
I also think it's good that they've got two off tanks with Mag because if we ever see, let's say, a Hog Sig meta once again, They can put Fury and Rhea in and they'll be fine because Mag isn't really known for his off-tank play. Even if you watched him play in Contenders Season 2 last year, when they had to play Sigma Hog, uh, they had FaZe and Booyal play, were the off-tank players, right? So they benched him, whereas some of the other teams were actually playing their main tanks on off-tank. So yeah, I think it's a smart move in that sense as well. But yeah, let's move on to the DPS line then, which is Ttuba, Decay, Jerry, and Assassin. So let's start off with the elephant in the room, and that is Decay. And I know you have a lot to share about him, Nightwing, so I'll let you go first.
I love Decay, dude. He is he is crazy. I mean, um, I think Decay has kind of had a rough time trying to carry teams that do not want to be carried in the past 2 years. I think Gladiators were, I mean, they were all right when they picked up Decay during GOATs, but I mean, nothing exceptional. Dallas was just a shame, and I think that most people probably got some sort of most people that like Decay at least got some kind of sense of vindication when Decay beat the living lights out of Dallas in the playoffs.
Hmm.
I think that Decay has had to um, be in this sort of carry role without much support for quite a long time. And I think this is the year that he can really get players that are close to his level and um, really put up I think, which something that will be an MVP level performance. I mean, I think that he is definitely, even before the season starts, I think he's an MVP contender. He's that good.
Hmm.
Um, uh, as you said, they might even put him in for the Zarya because his Zarya is obviously great. His aim and his mechanical skill is great, but also his overall bubble timing and everything like that is great on the Zarya. So if they wanna play some kind of comp that uses Zarya, then Decay could be their guy if Fury is not sufficing. But apart from that, obviously what he really shines at is the kind of hit scan role, and also sometimes the Genji.
Hmm. Yeah, his
Yeah,
hits can, yeah, go on.
I think that before some of before Assassin in specific was announced, I was very worried about the kind of flexing Decay would have to do to fit himself into the uh, DPS line, because he would have to play some stupid heroes, honestly. Uh, because if they were gonna field only Ttuba and Jerry, I was gonna be very concerned. Or even if they fielded someone uh, like Decay with Ttuba and Jerry, I would still be kind of worried for Washington, as that would be a weak spot. But I think that Decay is gonna have someone to kind of take the pressure off of him with Assassin. So he's gonna have a good time finally, and maybe not get tilted. Uh, last year, obviously, there was some kind of drama with Crimzo, where he was saying that Decay was kind of throwing the Dallas scrims. I think
Hmm.
this team has a better environment and a better level of players that will allow him to just have a better mental, I think. So this is Decay's year, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, I think the key is that the team should respect his skills and play around him like they did towards the end of season 3. And I mean, so far he has lucked out in the Overwatch League team wise, right? But yeah, he could finally achieve greatness because he plays an insane hit scan, an insane Tracer, an insane Zarya. And I think, I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think he's one of the most individually talented players in the world, uh,
I
with
agree.
with the performances he puts up in the league, right? Um, so yeah, I think he's finally found a good team that can respect his talents and enable him in the right way, and definitely excited to see him. Um, should we move on to another DPS then, unless OneHP has something to add?
No, you guys pretty much covered it all. I'd love to just go on with someone else at this point.
Alright, sure. Then let's talk about the other hit scan player that this team has got, right? Which is Jerry, who was on the Boston Uprising last year. And I don't know if a lot of people think this way. I think it's a pretty split opinion, but he was extremely overrated last year, and according to me. Sure, he played he had good raw aim, right? Ash, McCree, Hanzo, they were good. He can land his shots, but being a top tier hit scan requires a whole lot more than just that, as we've seen by watching Decay play in the league. Um, but yeah, overall, that's my opinion. He's quite overrated, but if Washington finds a spot for him, well and good. But I'll let you guys add to that.
I think that it's hard for anyone to judge Jerry's team play based off of the kind of garbage team he was on last year. The stats that were presented showed that he had, at least stats wise, he was decent. He was not a complete failure as a hit scan. I think um, maybe Washington might be able to develop him and use him in some kind of double hit scan meta, but
Hmm.
apart from that, I would not expect him to see him played over Decay unless uh, yeah, I mean, yeah, I cannot think of a scenario where he would want to play Jerry over Decay, but maybe in a double hit scan meta, he could actually be fielded.
Or maybe when Decay is on Zarya and you need a hit scan player.
Maybe if Decay catches a cold, I don't know.
Hope not. 1 HP, anything?
Well, to be fair, the dynamic you talked about with him seemingly having that decent raw mechanical aim, that's something I totally second because my problem with the uprising last season was that Color Hex has always been this player who's very aware, but for me at least, he doesn't seem to have the absolute top drawer kind of things to bring to the table. He's not that widowmaker you see and just start hiding from. I mean, nor is Jerry, to be fair. But at the same time, he had his individual moments, especially when subbed in, where he surprised a few people. And for that alone, I respect him because he didn't really have that much of sort of a bonding with the team anyway, from what we know. And secondly, we know he wasn't the preferred hit scan, more or less. So it's exciting seeing what the coaches are going to do with him. And of course, no one in the league's gonna be preferred over Decay, so that's not really a question we have here. The question here is for compositions like double hit scan, or for example, if they just want to run double sniper. I think Jerry's Hanzo could also be molded into something if need be. And from what I know of Ttuba and Assassin's hero pools, I think there is some space where only Jerry can fit in. And I just hope that a person of his talents could redeem himself, because he was, from the looks of it, very mechanically gifted.
All right. With that, let's move on to the flex DPS of this team, and that's Ttuba and Assassin. So let's talk about Assassin first, because we spoke about Mag, that is his teammate from Runaway, who's also on the Justice. And Assassin has won 3 seasons of Contenders Korea with him. I think his synergy is going to be really valuable, along with naturally his wide hero pool, in helping the Justice uh, play well in multiple metas. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good pickup. I haven't seen too much of Assassin's gameplay, so I can't really go in depth about his skill. But I know that he's a good flex DPS, and a lot of the community is excited to see him on this roster. So yeah, I'll let you guys pitch in on that.
Yeah, I think Assassin is a good player. He fills in a lot of the holes that the roster had when they had the just Ttuba and Jerry and Decay in there. Um, I think um, Assassin can really be the kind of projectile counterpart to Decay in some respect, and I think he can kind of split his hero pool with Ttuba. I think Ttuba is still a serviceable player that can um, maybe pick up some of the heroes like Farah, whereas Assassin can maybe work on like heroes like Echo. I think that while Assassin will probably mostly be fielded alongside Decay, um, maybe you could see Ttuba being brought in for specialist heroes. Um, Assassin has had a really good showing in contenders, yeah, and I'm excited to see what he does in the league. That's pretty much it.
OneHP.
Yeah, I think dedicated Echo player for me for sure, and pretty much end there off because I don't see him playing Pharah over Ttuba. Tuba's Pharah is good. I mean, I was kind of annoyed by him because this is a hot take. I don't know if it is. It's not because many people hold that opinion. I used to love Stratus and Corey together. Like,
Oh yeah.
just absolutely adore them. Both as personalities, and then even Corey was just nuts. And Stratus just used to, play so well off of him, especially in the Far Against Euros. So Ttuba initially for me failed to just live up to, the expectations we had from him. But towards the end of the season, for sure, especially with Stitch coming in, he seemed to get better and better. And by the end, I was convinced as far as very good. So I can't see Assassin do any of those over him, but I can see him being specialized in the Echo role. I don't see anyone else playing as good of an Echo as Assassin. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's the same dynamic where we're basically going back to expecting both Decay and Ttuba in the starting lineup with Jerry maybe not seeing any light till we have a double sniper or a double hit scan composition, and Assassin probably only for Echo really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you guys covered all the points I had about Tuba as well. So, shall we move on to the support line then?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so the support line for the Justice is Closer and BeBe. Um, and is it okay if I go first on this one?
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Alright, so talking about Closer, right? He's coming in from the Dallas Fuel. Um, he's mostly just good on Lucio. We haven't seen insane play from him on Mercy or Brigitte, but his Lucio's okay. It's good. Overall, I think it's what you might call a low value pickup. Both in terms of skill and in terms of money, I don't think they spent a whole lot on the support line, considering some of the superstars they've got on tank and DPS. Uh, but he's not like, as far as main supports go, he's not in. Like, he's probably towards the bottom of the tier list for me. And even speaking of BeBe, I think once again a low value pickup. Didn't have good showings in 2020, although some players are saying he's still got it, Because in 2019 he was a good player, but I don't think he's going to be competitive at all with the other flex supports in the league. This might be a hot take, but yeah, I think the Justice's support line is a really mediocre one, and the only strategy for them has to be that they invest as many resources as they can towards their playmakers, because these guys are not the players you expect to make carry plays or be insanely be playmakers themselves basically. So yeah, I'll let you guys go next.
Okay. I think that uh, the support line in BeBe and Closer is probably it's probably actually the right pick, honestly, for the Justice. They have some superstar players that require a lot of resources. With players like Mag and Decay, and I think that having a support line that is not uh, too hyper aggressive might be something that can actually work for them. However, considering they have one flex support and one main support, they could probably pick up another flex support because um, I think it's likely that you could see double flex support being a thing again in 2021,
Mm-hmm.
especially considering the kind of insane damage that flex supports are doing. Um, I think that while it's definitely going to be maybe a bit of a weak spot compared to top teams like the Shock, uh, it's not necessarily a terrible support lineup, I think.
Yeah, I think I agree with Nightwing here because we don't necessarily need every cog in the team to be that hyper aggressive player. And we know it's literally going to be the same as someone passing the ball to Ronaldo in football, where every resource is going to go to Decay, because truth be told, he probably is my pick for the MVP coming in. If not, if not Fleta again, because yeah, both are monsters. But yeah, closer especially coming to him. I know he's not the most let's say highly rated, or he's not the most talented at his role. But going all the way back to season one, again another champion, pre-existing synergies with Fury, who's in himself probably top five off tank, even after having not played much last season, and then he come to BeBe, who's kind of like, I think that's more of a Crimso situation here. That I'm thinking of from last week, where we have someone who's capable of the job. We just haven't seen them get utilized to their maximum potential, even if they were playing in every game. So it's once again, it's just coming back to the whole new team, new vibe scenario, where we're gonna have to expect good things from them, in the sense that they will never have to be the carries, and no one's really expecting those great things, as long as they can supplement their team with a uh, good enough support at the end of the day. They've got more than enough players to make those plays for them. So I'd say closer is dependable. I'm more concerned about BeBe, because for me, flex support is the kind of role where you just go for, you know, any player. It's not everyone that we consider good in that role is explosive for just making flashy plays. But yeah, I just don't see his Ana or Zen being that good yet. So yeah, definitely, I'd say dependable, but slightly questionable in flex support role.
Alright, should we then close the chapter on the supports?
Mm-hmm.
Alright,
Yeah.
then let's talk about the staff they have, which is Supreme as their head coach, and they've got Pri as their general manager, which I think Nightwing has got some points to share about. So let me just quickly go over Supreme, right? Because um, I I'm not too high on him still coaching this roster. He was in the Spark in season two, and he probably got Rhea and Baby from there because he liked their skills and saw something in them. Um, and I really think that he did well on the Spark because he had talented players. Because before that he hadn't had much success. Like he founded the team Contenders Team 7, for those of you who don't know, and that's why he's got like the 7 in his name instead of R. Um, but he hadn't had much success before that. He comes into the league, coaches the Spark, has a talented bunch of players, right? He had the likes of Gushua, he had Godsby, he had Rhea, who was doing well at the time. Um, and I think he also had IDK, who was a fairly great main support. Uh, but then when he came to the Justice, he did quite poorly until Decay was picked up. And I feel Decay was really the main reason the Justice was so good in the playoffs, and I don't think anyone disagrees with that. But overall, I think since like, I don't know who scouts for the Justice, but based on the team they've put together, Supreme could do well because he did well on the Spark with a good roster. But overall, him as a coach, I don't rate very highly because of his track record. But yeah, do you guys have any points to add about Supreme?
I
I
think
think
it's
you've got him covered, to be fair.
I think it's decent that like he has some kind of pre-existing synergy with some of the players on the team. I think he can help Rhea figure out what his role on the team would be. Even though you would expect Fury to play over him most of the time. But apart from that, his coaching has not exceptionally been like a standout to me. Uh, I guess this is his here to prove himself. Uh, I hope that it works out for the team and it's not just a coaching issue, because these are some really talented players that I would like to see succeed. It would be a letdown if the head coach being kind of messed up would kind of ruin that for them. But it's definitely a weak point. Um, I think in the region that they're playing with, you would probably look at Shock as the number one team to play against or to rival against. And they have Krusty, they have an excellent system, whereas Washington have Supreme. I think that's something that may show itself to be a weak point.
Mm-hmm. And what about Pre? Because you said you've done some research about him, so go ahead and share your points.
It's not really like research. I've just had a look at the kind of streams he's doing, and he
Mm-hmm.
just seems to have a good head on his shoulders. He has a lot of care and respect for his players. He wants to treat them well, and I think that his way of thinking about his position as a GM is quite good. I think that a pre will be quite essential in kind of developing players and getting them through this year, which is still going to be a rough year. Maybe not as rough as last year, 2020, but 2021 is still going to be a hard year to navigate through. And, and I think that Pre can really help the team navigate through that.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it.
Okay. So, any points on your side, 1HP, or did we cover
Well,
everything?
it's just no. I think most of it, but yeah, it's just the part where you say you weren't sold on Supreme. I think it's pretty much a mutual feeling, but we just don't know. New team dynamic, lots of interesting talent coming in, and at the end of the day, you just can't tell how people are gonna synergize together. So I'm just wishing him best of luck, really, because to be fair, he hasn't stood out, but at the same time, his team wasn't like embarrassingly bad either. It's still quite a feat to be able to be better than average in the Overwatch League because we've got literal juggernauts that just don't let you breathe even. So I'd say more power to him, and I hope he can let those potential role stars just get him at least into the top six, if not the top four.
Okay. Okay. Uh, so that's it. Let's quickly talk about the overall journey the Justice have had so far, right? Because they started in season 2 in the Overwatch League, and they've sort of been in the bottom half of the rankings all the while. Um, they've always had sort of mediocre seasons, or let's be frank, they've been pretty bad for most of each season. But for some reason, they have a trend of being really good towards the end, like we saw in season 2 when we got Roll Lock introduced to the league. They absolutely popped off in stage 4 with the help of Corey and Stratus, and then last year they were pretty bad until they picked up Decay, who elevated the team's play to the next level during the playoffs in that double off tank meta. So I mean, if I were, let's say, the part of the management behind the Justice, I would think like, let's try and get a serviceable roster this time round. Let's try and be competitive in at least a few metas. But based on the pickups, I think the team can definitely be more than that if they uh, give enough importance to their playmaking parts, right? Players like Mag, Fury, and Decay. If they enable these guys enough, I think they can be way more than just competitive in a few metas. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Where do you think this team stands right now compared to previous years?
I think that Washington in past years has just been a very anti-fun team. And the whole team turns into playoffs profit, but like a scuffed version of playoffs profit at the end of the season. Uh,
Anti-fun. They had Corey,
yeah,
Stratus, and Sleepy in season 2.
yeah, yeah. No, it's still anti-fun.
Really?
It's just boring, honestly. Like it was a very forgettable performance, generally speaking,
Right.
except for some bright spots in Stage 4 2019 and then playoffs 2020. I think that uh, this time they've tried to move away from that team identity and just kind of turn it into a full Korean team. They're trying to bring in some really great players in. I hope that it works out for them. Uh, little bit concerned about the coaching, not that concerned about the actual players. Good luck to Washington. I want to see Decay pop off and be the MVP.
1HP?
Yeah, I think I've got a very conflicting point of view in the sense that, first of all, let's go back to 2019. Very, very bad season in general, and we didn't really get to see the best of Corey or Stratus till the very end. But when we did get to see it, I remember the match was against Vancouver Titans, who lost their first game in the regular matches. Like not playoff ones, just the regular season
Oh, it was
matches.
the second game actually. They lost the
Oh
first
yeah,
one
it
to the
was.
Valiant in
Yeah, first to
stage
the
three.
Valiant. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
it was the second game, and I remember it just being a crazy game where, I mean, you can't luck out for so many maps in a row, and it was just a sign of what could have been done if the team could just reach its potential. And at the same time, they like this is probably just a very bad thing to say, but for me, in terms of, there are teams that are just very inconsistent, but they keep surprising you, and in that respect, Justice always seemed like a poor man's Chengdu. And I just never got over the fact that, sure, they pop off sometimes, but there are teams that do this thing where they're super inconsistent because they're always not sticking to something, but those teams still make it work more often than Justice does, for example. And for them now this season, it's pretty much like it's the best roster they've had, or rather, I think it was one of the best rosters they could have managed this year. And there needs to be some sort of urgency in the team to sort of take it to the next level, because initially, sure, 2019, we nobody really expected the world, and 2020 we kind of did starting off expecting decent things, but then Corey going out meant a huge loss, and then we just kind of got off the rails, and then Decay suddenly started popping off. But he could carry any team. He could have carried Boston last year. I don't, it's not even a question. So you cannot credit the whole team for something mostly one person did. And coming into it this year now, I think he should have enough people around him to be able to sort of collectively make an effort to a something greater. And by something greater, I don't mean title challenge or anything. I just mean a respectable position, and where you're not just popping off in the playoffs, but the whole season in general, you get a sort of a more stable vibe going on. And yeah, best of luck.
All right.
I think that
Mhm.
just one last thing. I think that during the course of the season, I think Washington, if they're smart about it, if things work out well for them, if the Shock get a bit too comfortable at the top, then I think they can steal maybe a tournament from the Shock or some of the other better teams in the region. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I could see this team doing incredibly well in like a dive meta, like Winston, Diva, Tracer. I think this team could be actually top notch in
Yeah,
NA
look
at
at
least.
Mag's Monkey, Fury's Diva, Decay's Tracer, Assassins. Well, not Genji because Genji is garbage, but Assassin's Echo or something. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or
I
maybe Jerry
mean,
on the Hans or Ttuba on the Genji. They've got something good, but
yeah, they could
yeah,
definitely
you
make
guys have
something
a
work.
yeah, especially for the dive. They seem like a very strong team, but it's the Overwatch League is all about teams just being meta proof. All of the champions we've seen, they've never struggled in any meta. Like literally any of them. Well, I say any of them, while Shock's won like two now, but yeah, it's I mean, OG London was one of my favorite teams. Like the sheer depth was so fucking scary. I've still not seen it. Even
Mm-hmm.
with Shock having like, four stellar DPSs, I would still fear the original London more, because that was a truly unholy time. We didn't have roll queue or anything. And it was just everything was the sandbags were real. We thought it was NYXL, but no, it was actually London that was sandbagging season.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Okay. I think we've gone over pretty much all of the players and gone over our thoughts on the staff and where this team stands roughly. But yeah, that's all for this episode of the Overseers. Thanks a lot to you guys for watching. If you want to be notified about more videos from us, do hit the subscribe button, like this video, comment, share, do all of the YouTube stuff that can uh, help bring this show to more people's notice and really join us in the conversation about the Overwatch League. So thanks a lot for watching once again, and we'll see you guys in the next episode, which will be about the Boston Uprising. Stay tuned, and bye bye.